and I'm back sooner than I anticipated. Not that it will make a lot of difference to you, the viewer. I ended up with a pretty good credit, which allowed me to put that toward something that I've been really wanting to pick up for quite some time, and that is the Dragonbane Mirth and Mayhem role-playing game box set. I had the Free RPG Day Quick Start Guide, which I gave a read a while back. This is from Free League, the folks behind Forbidden Lands, which is a game I've also been very interested in trying out at some point and have yet to do so. Particularly with my recent interest in some solo RPG stuff. Forbidden Lands is supposed to be pretty good for that, as is, from what I have heard, Dragonbane. And that makes sense to me because I have thought for a while that basic role-playing would be good for doing some solo stuff. And the DNA of basic role-playing is very much in Dragonbane. I'm not super well versed. I've seen a lot of videos talk about this, so I know it's not a secret, but I'm not super well versed on the history of it. Apparently, RuneQuest made its way to Sweden. That's why I have my RuneQuest book out here. I think it was RuneQuest 2nd edition, if I'm remembering correctly. It made its way to Sweden, became quite popular. I understand why. Basic role-playing, it's a very good game system. It's what I got into the hobby with. I think that there are probably a lot of people like me out there who bounced off of and would continue to bounce off Dungeons & Dragons in a way that we did not bounce off of basic role-playing and variations of basic role-playing. So, Dragonbane, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the Demons and Dragons or whatever it was called in Swedish. After a trip to Denmark, with a day trip to Sweden actually, a couple of years back, I don't have a gift for languages by any stretch of the imagination, but whoo boy, those Scandinavian tongues, they do a doozy for me. So it is, as expected from Free League, a solid box, well made. I don't know that it's necessarily as nice as the Forbidden Lands one, but it's a good solid box, as one would expect. It has the things, silicates that you expect. Little, catalog, as always. Boy, there's just a bunch of stuff from Free League that I still like. I really want to check out Symbaroum. Symbaroum. I haven't done that. I haven't tried the Tales from the Loop board game at all, but I have a bunch of that stuff, but I'm still missing a book from that. Twilight 2000, I have the original GDW one. I would be really interested in checking out a version that might be playable. Forbidden Lands, I don't have any of the source books for that, but I also haven't tried the game yet. Mutant Year Zero I'm a little less interested in, especially because I've already got Mutant Crawl Classics, which I feel like might scratch the same conceptual itch as a sort of a little bit more wacky. I think this is taken seriously, but wacky. Anyway, blah blah blah. Vaesen. I've got my Call of Cthulhu Alien. I love Alien. Coriolis is one I really want to check out. The One Ring I'm curious about to see about the 2nd edition. I was not in love with the 1st edition, but and Walking Dead I've no real interest in at all. Blade Runner I'd really like to check out. But anyway, the Free League folks, they do great stuff. I've seen a bunch of unboxings of this, so I feel like I'm just running over old stuff. But there's like cards, adventure cards, treasure cards. There's initiative cards because the initiative system is done using cards. Some nice green dice, standard stuff. What is it? 4d6, a d4, a d8, a d12, a d10, and 2d20. It's just a regular d10, not a percentile, because that is one thing. Basic role playing typically is a percentile system, but like with Pendragon, they have slimmed that down to being a D20, but it's still a D20 roll under. So it's essentially like a percentile system, but divided by 5. My stand thingies for the cardboard standees that are in here. Got the usual what's in the box. So I'm assuming is what this is. And then we have the stuff that's in here. The rules, from what I understand, this is essentially the complete rules. Now, I know there's a new hardcover edition out. I don't know if it's expanded on this or if it's literally just this in hardcover. I really don't know. But from what I understand, this is the complete. This has like character creation. It's not like a lot of starter boxes where there's no character creation section. This is the rules. And, everybody mentions it, but I love the art. It's stylized. It's, they say mirth and mayhem. It's got a slightly, I don't want to say it's not goofy. It's got a slightly cartoonish, exaggerated look to it, but it's also got a little bit of a grittiness to it that I like. And I don't have a problem with my mallards and my duck people. Again, going back to RuneQuest, where I feel like they became kind of, and I think for this, especially with the cover, I think they become sort of like a mascot for the setting. But when you really start reading into RuneQuest, it's not like every group is going to have a duck in it. It's they are a relatively small faction, and because of the setting, there are other people with other like animal combo people that make sense in the setting because of its Bronze Age mythological bent. But anyway, this is unlike D&D. This is a skill-based as opposed to a class-based game. You do everything. Everything's about the skills that you have. So you get better. And this is just how it is. You get better by doing, and it's the thing that I love about basic role playing. It's like if you want to become a really good fighter, then fight. If you want to become a really good farmer, then farm. And it's not just I went out to the ruins, I beat up a bunch of orcs, and then I beat up enough orcs that I suddenly miraculously got better at everything that I do. I suddenly learned a spell. I suddenly became a better farmer and a better axeman and a better whatever, because that's my class. To me, I understand why D&D became the basis for so many computer RPGs, because it's so gamist and it so fits with a computer. If I'm playing a video game, I want to get an award for doing X amount of stuff, and that's kind of how that feels to me. But with skill-based games, you're rewarded by doing. You want to be better at something, do that thing. Anyway, so that is, from what I understand, how it works in Dragonbane, and I love that. There are adventures, and this is a pretty sizable. I mean, the adventure. They're roughly the same size book. So I think the idea is that these adventures can be played to build into like a little mini campaign or something. I believe that that's true. Don't quote me on that. But looks like we've got some nice maps, some more nice art. That's all great. And so one of the things that I look forward to with this game is I think, I got my start with basic role-playing. I found it a super intuitive game. I still find it a super intuitive game. I like running it. I typically run Call of Cthulhu if I'm getting people into the hobby for the first time. A lot of times I run Call of Cthulhu. And I've mentioned, I think before, but a lot of our friends are of that age where they're having kids, and those kids are starting. Some of those kids are starting to get to the age where they're displaying interest in stuff like gaming. One friend of ours, her son, I think, has just started his first like little kids D&D game, and I think that this might be a game that I would use to start kids playing RPGs. I haven't picked up. I've been bad. I still haven't picked up the new edition of basic role playing, and I never got the gold book. It came out while I was sort of out of the hobby, so I do plan to grab that at some point, and I may focus a little more on that. But I think that this would be a good thing to have. It's easy. It's fantasy is popular, but I think fantasy is also easy, and I think that's why fantasy is what gets played so often, and that might be why D&D is a default instead of Traveller, which like Mongoose Traveller is a very intuitive and cool and fun game, and it's a semi-generic genre game in that yes, they have their own setting, but really it allows you to play whatever kind of sci-fi you want within that. This is a nice quality. People said it's a nice quality map. It really is nice. Oh, that's cool. It has the backers' names on the back, which is nice, but also you don't have to worry about it. So if you wanted to frame this or put it under plexi on your table, you could do that without problem. So that's really cool. This map is very neat, very evocative. Anyway, I think fantasy is just the easier thing to run, and it's the easier thing for a lot of people to get their heads around for whatever reason. So I think having a fantasy game in my repertoire, or a couple of fantasy games in my repertoire, is a good idea. And I don't think I would start kids with Dungeon Crawl Classics. I really enjoy it. But I mean, how many like 6 or 7-year-old kids are sitting around thinking like, man, you know what? I really want a game that captures the feeling of a Molly Hatchet album cover. Not a lot would be my guess, but So we've got some blank character sheets. I don't know, man. I always feel really bad about using these really beautiful character sheets. So I'll see if I can download just a straight up printable, easy to go photocopy character sheet. Pre-made, so you could get right into it if you wanted to. That's great. And cardboard standees. I'm really enjoying having some cardboard standees lately. I don't know. It's like I do love miniatures, and it's weird. I never really was much for miniatures in my role-playing games, but I do love miniatures. And I think if I'm going to have younger kids, I think having something to look at and focus on would be handy. And so it's cool to get these, and there looks like there's a nice variety. I see, several halflings and several different careers, a couple of dwarves, some elves. A bunch of people are either human or elf, but you can't tell, so it doesn't matter. There's more than one duck. Is there more than one of the wolfkin? I think I only see one of the wolfkin, so that's something I'd like to see more of, obviously. So that it's not just playing a warrior or something. And then we've got, some monsters, trolls, whatever this weird thing is. I think these are all connected to the adventures. Some goblins, but there's stuff that's going to be usable for whatever. Certainly having more goblin figures and orc figures be handy for if I'm running Dungeon Crawl Classics or I'm running whatever, having some trolls and whatever. I played a bunch of 4 Against Darkness recently where I had the standees out for my sake. Obviously, I'm playing solo, so it doesn't really matter to whoever else is there. But I was using a lot of goblin figures because I have goblins, but I don't really have orcs, so it'd be nice to have some. So Yeah, and these punch out pretty easy. I've seen enough videos of people saying that they, yeah, come out real easy. And this is a slightly different style of stand whatever plastic base. All right, I'm going to be defeated by a plastic bag. There we go. Slightly different than what I have from one of the other companies, but I think if you squeeze them slightly, yeah, it's no problem. And yeah, stands no problem. I mean, I don't have an even surface here, but they're not bad. So that's great. I've watched somebody doing this, like putting them back in for the way they store theirs. That's not what I will do, but I understand doing that. So that's my little look at Dragonbane. I'm pretty jazzed to check this game out. I may try to play some solo game of it coming up. I enjoyed playing a little bit of 4 Against Darkness recently, but at least in the couple of books that I have for that, it's a little limited. I only really have the basic book and a couple of adventures and some rando other stuff. Oops. But I understand it can get a little bit more involved with some of the later releases that I don't have. But I think this could be pretty cool. There we go. All right, so anyway, that's my little look and my little rant about random stuff. What have I not even started drinking yet today, in spite of the fact that it's as sluggish as I may sound? Back River Gin. Sorry, Tom. Back River Gin from Sweetgrass Winery and Distillery in Maine. I made a Gin Ricky, which is a DC invented cocktail. Who knew? I mean, probably anybody who cares about cocktails. I didn't realize. That is pretty refreshing. Starting to warm up here in Virginia. Well, actually, it's kind of chilly out today, but generally speaking, it's starting to warm up here in Virginia, so a nice, refreshing drink sounds pretty good to me. A little bit sour, a little bit tang. That's nice. All right. Until whatever the next video is. Actually, I think I know what the next video is. Until the next video, take care. Do some gaming. Let me know if you've tried this out. What are your thoughts on basic role-playing? What are your thoughts on Dragonbane? Do you have thoughts on RuneQuest? I had a really interesting discussion with RPG Imaginings the other day about RuneQuest and the RuneQuest combat system. So, anyway, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.